permit policy. Bringing in speakers for youth, perhaps from Narcotics Anonymous or from the training school. We're not exactly sure, but we think that maybe students need to hear some more stories from real people who have been through some tough times. And motivational interviewing is something the student assistance counselors do in the schools, but it's something we really want to continue and get them some more training. I'm going to turn this over to Lori Maroney, who will do the second part.
Hello, everyone. Just turn sideways a little bit. I think it's just a little bit easier on all of us, and I hope I'm not in anyone's way. First of all, I am a mom. I raised 3 sons that went through our school system, and I'm very proud of that. We have a wonderful system here, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Let's see if I can just raise this just a little bit, and that will be a little better. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's talk about what we do know. What we know is that our impaired driving is dangerous. We know that student drivers don't always have clear rules and expectations. We know that kids also look up to us as their parents, and they also look up to other adults. It can be very challenging to engage our students and parents. And we also know that incentives along the way may help this process. There are 10 very well drug and alcohol policies that we know will save lives. But the 3 that we have in front of us prevent underage drinking. The first one, we should think about increasing alcohol prices through taxes, particularly on beer. The second says that we should limit alcohol advertising, as we know this is very powerful through media and other influences, and promote activities that target our young people. The third includes adopting laws that will prevent alcohol-related deaths and injuries among our young people. And we also know that we have the chemical health and student safety policy that is now in place in targeted participants in athletics and extracurricular activities in their parents. And this is in place at our high school. The parking permit policy will target drivers and their parents. Now, according to the Health and Wellness Survey that was administered through our high school in 2008, it was reported that 92% of the students who could drive reported having consumed alcohol in the past 30 days. However, in the following year, in 2009, we saw this percentage of students who could drive reporting having consumed alcohol in the past 30 days had decreased to 20%, as we do have some initiatives in place, and we're happy to report that. The parking permit policy that is being proposed this evening is an activity on which we can partner. This parking permit policy involves a safe driving contract between parents and their child, a video that we'll show in just a few moments, and a few questions that you may answer together, perhaps 3 or 4 questions that a mom and dad or guardian and their child will do this together. It also includes banners, stickers, a slogan that act as actually visual reminders throughout the school environment. And this is our decision, direction, and destiny. At this point in time, we'd like to show the video that we're proposing. And I know that Kathy Yeager had mentioned that it's actually very thought-provoking and very factual. So we'll show the video at this point. And here we go.
I don't know, like 77%.
I'd say like probably 70, 75.
About a quarter, I would say. I think 22 or 23% of kids said that, yes, they smoke marijuana.
I mean, obviously you hear stuff like all the time, but it's kind of just like, I don't know, it's nothing that really sends up a red flag, like everyone talks about it, so.
I heard a lot of people in school smoking. They tell me stories.
I always hear people talking about, you know, what they did over the weekend concerning like what drugs they did, you know, how hard they partied, and
Because I just hear a lot of stories around the school. Like, so many kids do it. I mean, it's all over Facebook and everything, too. I mean, they even put it up as a status and everything. Oh, I got fucked up last night. With so on. Yeah.
I don't know, you make yourself like, people think they're cool if they do something like, well, I'm such a, you know, a badass if I do ecstasy.
But they say those things because they feel like they're expected to, because a lot of teenagers believe that in your teen years, that's what you do. You get high, you get drunk, you party, because when you get older, you're not going to have those abilities. So, you know, live it up while you can. A lot of teens think that that's the way to go, and a lot of kids in my school believe that it is normal to get drunk or to drink even a little bit or smoke whatever they're smoking, whether it be tobacco or cigarettes or crack. You know, I don't know.
My name is, I'm a student at North Kingstown High School. I drink alcohol. I've used Adderall, Ritalin, Vicodin, Percocet, OxyContin, inhalants, Diazepam, Xanax.
I haven't done any of those substances, and throughout my whole life, when I've seen people abuse those substances, like when I've seen people smoke or when I've seen people get drunk or get high, it's really, really irritated me that people would be so irresponsible with their lives and put the lives of others in jeopardy.
I really don't think it's necessary to do all that. I mean, to do drugs or anything. I mean, if you can have fun in a different way, then why should you, like, turn to drugs and alcohol?
I don't think it's like direct peer pressure, like people going, do it, but I think it's just the fact that other people are doing it, that people like will like pressure themselves into doing it. I don't think it's really, because I don't know, I don't hear a lot of like people, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't hear a lot of people just trying to get someone else to do it. Like, most people don't do that. They just, if they're doing it and they're cool and they sound like they're having fun, then that'll make someone else want to do it, but it won't be like directly like do it.
Well, some people use drugs because they think it's cool. They fall into peer pressure because most of their friends are doing it.
When I first started out, I did it mostly with people, with my friends and stuff. And I don't know, it was more like, I don't know, it was a lot less. It wasn't as extreme. And as it progressed slowly, like, people who I don't know, like, as it progressed and I started doing it by myself, I started doing more and more and more and more and more. And it ended up becoming like an addiction to some degree.
I don't know, like, obviously I've been like curious about it, but I was obviously taught by my mom that it's not a good thing to do, and I don't know, I have no problems making friends or fitting in, so I don't really see a need to like change what I'm doing because everything's working.
I feel guilty for from my parents' point of view. I don't want them to know everything. I don't want them to feel like they were bad parents, so I don't really say anything about it to them. Or I just ask for help. I don't want people to know. I don't want it to be like turned into a big thing, bigger than it has to be.
When parents take the time to like get to know their kids and like talk to them about everything, then kids understand more of, it's not really a don't do it because I said so. It's like, don't do it and these are the reasons. And then a kid's more likely to like not want to do it. But if a parent is just like absent or they're doing things themselves, then the kid's either just going to try to like, they're going to just listen to what their friends say or like see what everyone else is doing, or they're just going to like copy their parents. So
if my parents knew everything I did, they would probably feel like they messed up as parents. They would probably just feel like I was just like a mess. I personally, it might not be true or it might not, but I feel like they would just think I'm a mess up or a screw up in life, and I don't want them to think that way. And I don't want this to be like, no matter where I go in life, it's just like this was where he was, so I mean, I just want to be able to continue with my life and grow from it and personally, and not have to involve them with my drama and crap. You know, it's not something I'm proud of. At the same time, I think it's made, drug use and my experience with it has made me a better person. And I can sympathize with other people who suffer from problems, and I don't know, I feel like a need to help them, and just, I feel it's made me a better person. And like, I've gone through hell, but I mean, it's made me a better person overall.
Catherine Cutting, better known as Kay in this community. I'm 80, but it's going to be 81 tomorrow. Hallelujah. I'm a native, you might say. And I went to the schools, attended schools in North Kingstown from, grammar school right on through high school. In 82, my dad was murdered. So in 83, I decided that I would do something positive because he was murdered by an addict, and my dad's truck was missing. He never let anyone drive his truck. So they found that at the airport. And the hammer which was used, the peen hammer, was thrown away. We learned during the trial it had been thrown away on the way up to the airport. Why did he do it? I don't know. He wanted money. He wanted money to support his drug habit. And my dad had just change, and he took every bit of it from his pockets. His pockets were inside out. But I wanted to do something positive after my dad was murdered, and to prevent others, perhaps, from thinking along those lines, or even if I helped one person, it would be great. And I very brazenly put my application in at a local alcohol substance abuse rehab, and they were looking for a community liaison person. And I felt that I knew this community like the back of my hand. I would be fine. Well, it turned out that they already hired someone. And so they said to me, would you mind being an admissions counselor at this facility, this alcohol rehab facility, High Point? And I said, I've never done that, but I've done a lot of counseling with my nutrition and just helping people. And so I did that. And I did it for 6 years. This is the thing I had in 95 that was given to me. I don't like to talk about certificates and awards. I have, that's not why I do things. Our home was always an open door. I never knew how many were coming for dinner. Lots of the youngsters hung out here, and it was okay, because at least when they're here, you know what they're doing. You think you know what they're doing anyway. Sometimes you don't, but my children used to bring that subject up, especially after they were married and everything, and they were older. Mom, you really thought you knew everything that was going on, but you really didn't. So you can do everything to prevent, but when the children, they have to have the tools to work with to be strong enough to say no and mean no with drug prevention and alcohol. It's my responsibility as a person in this community to help others, because I've had so much drug prevention involvement over the years, and I just feel responsible.
This church has hosted AA meetings for a number of years now. I'm not sure how many years, but it's been interesting to me in the 2 years that I've been here to observe that there are many adults that come into the meeting, but there are several young people as well, younger teens, early 20s, and I'm not sure whether all of them are coming because it's their problem, alcohol is directly their problem, or if they're coming in support of a parent. But I suspect that because some of them come in alone, that they're there for themselves, that alcohol is an issue that they're dealing with. And we have opportunities to speak periodically, but, I try not to be too invasive of, it's private, it's anonymous, and so I don't ask too many questions, but do support the gathering and continuing to keep our doors open for that. I think the view of most people is that those who are using drugs and alcohol and abusing their bodies are just bums, they're no good, they're derelicts. My brother was a good brother. He loved his parents, he loved his sisters, his brothers. He was a wonderful uncle. He did work, he was productive. He was very generous. The alcohol caused him to do some really stupid things. The drug caused him to do some stupid things. But, I remember that day. It was devastating to us as his siblings, and more so to his parents, to our parents. It was just shouldn't have happened. It was a waste of a good life, of a good person. He was a good kid. He was a wonderful uncle. And he used alcohol. He used marijuana. I don't know what other drugs that he used in there, but I know when he died, it was of cocaine and heroin. And that was what was in his system, at 33 years of age. It took, 17 years from graduation to the time he died. And he was smart. He knew his body. He knew what he was doing with alcohol. He knew what he was using with marijuana. He wasn't going to get addicted. And yet he had a track right up his arm.
The common consequences that I've seen are that kids will be under the influence and then they'll sleep with each other. And then that can cause pregnancies or STDs. And also a lot of kids get in trouble and they do stupid things when they're under the influence. Like one person I know, he got high and then he stole a bunch of mailboxes, and he has a court appointment now, and he's facing time in juvie for stealing mailboxes, which is kind of a waste that you'd have to have that on your record, and it's just a complete waste of everyone's time, just because of the stupid decisions that marijuana affected on his brain. Jeff Monica drove his car really fast down the road and then ended up wrapping it around a telephone pole.
He had had a few beers at his friend's house celebrating his final grades from his first year of college. And they had been watching a movie called The Fast and the Furious, which if anyone has seen that movie knows it depicts guys all pumped up and racing cars. And Jeff was driving too fast and was under the influence of alcohol and lost control of his vehicle and hit a telephone pole and was killed. I started speaking, a few years ago. It took a long time to get to that point. Public speaking is something I have never, ever been comfortable with. And it's very obvious when I speak publicly to probably most people in the audience that it is not something that comes natural to me.
Hey, thanks. Hi. Well, I usually do a little better with that. It's been a long time since I've spoken, so when I've done it 2 or 3 times pretty close together, I get better. I don't get as choked up, but some days it just, all of a sudden it whaps.
The subject matter made it even more difficult. And as much as I realize that what I'm talking about is not comfortable for most people to hear, it's something that needs to be done. And I just, as Jeff would say, fear-factored my way through it, and tried to do the best I can. On May 29th, 2003, Jeff Monica, a 2002 NK graduate, was killed when his car hit a telephone pole on Frenchtown Road at 12:20 a.m. I did one public service announcement with friends of Jeff's, of our son Jeff, and family members, and all of them spoke about who they lost.
I lost my brother.
Who that person was in their life, and it was person after person after person talking about what that loss meant to them.
I lost one of the first people I can call a true friend.
Then a second public service announcement that I made, I went around the state and took photos of roadside crosses and put it all together and did a voiceover talking about how many crosses does it take till we all get it, that this is that drinking and driving with any age is unacceptable.
Jeff Monica was intoxicated when he was driving, but it still is a terrible, needless tragedy that someone like Jeff, who I've only heard good things about, had to die that way, just because of the effects of some bad choices.
There's always a hole there in the family. But it's a time thing. You have to get through your grieving. Each person has to find their own way in their grief, whether it be the activism, that role that I decided to go with, or if it's through counseling, and there's all different ways that people deal with their grief, and some people just try somehow to block it out and shut it out of their lives. It's always there. There's always something missing, but the one thing you learn as time passes, that the one true healer is time. It never goes away. It's always there, but the intensity is not as bad as it is in the beginning. You literally feel hollow, everything that you say, you think of, you do, simple everyday things are just affected. So for our family, we've had our struggles. Like, I don't know any family that has been through a loss like this that have not had their struggles. But somehow you make it out on the other side. The one thing that bothered me greatly was that we had never taken the time to have a new family portrait done. The one we originally had over our mantle was one when Jeff and David were 2 and 6 years old, and I love that portrait, but for several years I had been talking about having a new one done, a more up-to-date photo. And then when Jeff died, I realized that would never happen. And it hit me hard. I had contacted the photo company that had done all the high school pictures, photographs of all the seniors for their yearbook. And in having a conversation with the photographer, he told me that it was possible to take a family portrait and literally drop one of his high school pictures from that photo shoot and work our family, David, Steve, and I, and our golden retriever, Goldie, to put them in the photo. I just couldn't believe that my wish of having this new family portrait was just, I was just elated.
I think, if anything, it's at least served as a lesson to his nieces and nephews. But it was a difficult lesson for them to have to learn that way. And I would hope that other families wouldn't have to go through that.
And I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through what our family has been through. I mean, the grieving process, the counseling that we didn't get, that we should have gotten as a family. I mean, that's why I'm in there, to help others, to help them get through this.
I would say that substance abuse is awful because I've seen so many kids with such a bright future have their futures dimmed and wrecked by their abuse of illegal drugs just purely for recreational and social purposes where they do not need to do that. And their lives would be so much better if they could find other healthy alternatives to passing the time or to relieving stress than abusing these harmful, terrible, toxic substances. And if you stay true and you do not use drugs and alcohol, your future will be much brighter and you'll feel much more confident in yourself. That I went through high school, and even though there was some pressure to drink at a party or to smoke some pot with some older kids or whatever, I didn't do it. And that will give the students a greater sense of confidence in themselves, that they can stay true to their core beliefs, that they don't have to be sheep and aren't easily hurted, and that they can be their own person and not what other people think that they should be.
Thank you. According to the American Medical Association, 90% of Americans are worried about underage drinking. Why do kids use? Well, kids are curious. They also want to fit in. They want to have fun, and they want to take risks, and they want to experiment, and they want to feel grown up. And why do parents think their kids use? Oh, there are different reasons. Sometimes parents feel it's the school or it's other parents' influence. They'll allow it, or their peers, or the media. There's so much influence with the media through magazines or YouTube or the social places that they network to. And role models. We are mirrors to our children as parents. What we know is that we need clear and we need healthy standards for behavior. We need a parent network to counteract the peer network, to stay in touch with each other. We certainly can't do this alone, and as Kathy Yeager had mentioned tonight, we have acknowledgement of all partners. We're all here tonight. We have the school committee, administration, faculty members, staff, student assistance counselors. We have students here tonight. We need each other. We have parents. We may have some police members, but we definitely partner with police. The town of North Kingstown, and of course, the state of Rhode Island in general. What is our responsibility to other people's children? And how does our response to this question define our community? We have to help and care for each other. The health and wellness survey that was given at this high school show that students drink alcohol and they drive cars, increasing the risk of getting hurt or even dying. A parking permit policy will establish requirements for students who would like to earn and keep a parking spot. Enhanced alcohol education and awareness of our students and parents will certainly help keep the town of North Kingstown a safe community. And these are our students. The goal here tonight was to raise awareness among our youth who are in the driver's seat in its decision, direction, and destiny. And thank you for coming to our presentation this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to personally thank the task force, Laura Housley, Kathy Yeager, Lori Baroni, and personal thanks to Kay Cutting and Robin Monica for sharing their stories with the committee and with the community, and very moving. And Robin and I have worked on a couple of different things together, and it's really a privilege and an honor, so thank you very much. As was said earlier on, this is the parking permit policy is a work in progress, a collaboration between the committee and the administration and the task force, the high school principal, Dr. Kenworthy, and the students in the community. What we hope to do through events like this is to solicit feedback and input from all of those stakeholders as we continue to hopefully move forward with the development of this parking pass and further educate students and the parents. So tonight is one of those opportunities, as we'll move on to citizens' comments in just a moment, to solicit that feedback and input that will help the committee and the task force and the administration and the policy subcommittee as they move forward and putting the pieces of this together to actually get it into the operational stages. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'll open up first to committee members who have any questions or comments for the task force pertaining to the presentation, and then we'll move to the audience members for any questions or comments pertaining to the presentation. And I think Dr. Thornton, before we get to that, Dr. Thornton just wanted to say a few words as far as the process on his end with his administration.
Sure. In terms of the process, first, I'm very committed to the parking policy, and to that end, I would like to put this on the next policy subcommittee agenda, have the task force certainly attend and move forward with this. In my mind, if all went well, knowing that we have the holidays, we could certainly consider bringing this back to the committee maybe in early January, if all went well in my mind, if we could do that. But certainly something to move on, with all speed.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Are there any committee members at this time who have any questions or comments that they'd like to make? Mrs. Abizano?
I just want to say briefly to the entire task force, they're doing so many amazing things, and this film is only one of them. They've done I mean, the checklist that you had at the beginning of the PowerPoint set forth some of the things you've accomplished, and you've accomplished an amazing amount. The thing about this film is just the powerful emotional impact of it, and just very brave of those who step forward and put themselves out there, and our students. So I think it's going to have a great impact on this community and on every student in this district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Avisano. Anyone else? Comments? Mrs. Benson?
First, I'd like to say thank you to the members of the task force. And having been around with the inception of it, we've come a long way. And we're going to continue in that vein. And it's like the proverb that says it takes a whole village to educate and raise a child. And I guess I'll have to go to the Supreme Court. I'll be Sandra Day O'Connor. But we are doing a lot of that within our churches. And I was very glad to see, and at her early coming to our city, our pastor taking such an active part in things, in the working with the youth. And let's face it, that triangle, the bottom of it is built on a community. And a community is made up of schools, churches, and residents. And I know that someone might say, well, we'll never get it 100%, but we must keep pushing for that. And let us be an example to the kids also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Benson. Anyone else? Mrs. Page?
Thank you for the film. I enjoyed it. Our next policy meeting is Monday, December 6th, so I don't know if that's been on your calendar or not, but we'll wait until we get something from you, and we can put you on our agenda. That won't be any problem.
Thank you, Mrs. Page. Brenton?
I would just like to say that as a student, that video is very sobering. It's eye-opening, and although I feel that maybe drug use and alcohol use may be perceived as a little overblown by some adults, it is a problem, and I'm glad that we're raising awareness about it, because I know I've known people who, just like the video, have said their lives have been affected and their futures have been dimmed by drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and I would like to see them have an avenue for help rather than just having no place to go and being stuck in an addictive cycle.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking up on that and participating. It's great. It's more important for me to hear the students' perspectives on this. After all, this is the group that this is targeted towards, so thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Okay. At this time, we'll open up for citizens' comments. What I'd ask for first, if there are any citizens who would like to comment or have any questions or comments, for those of you who have questions or comments pertaining to this presentation specifically, to come forward first. If there's questions or comments pertaining to any other agenda items, if you could just wait until after those who would like to speak specifically to this presentation have an opportunity to speak, that would be greatly appreciated. So, if citizens' comments, please approach the microphone. Feel free. I just need you to state your name and address for the school committee clerk, please.
Hi, my name is Carolyn, and I thought the film was wonderful. It had a lot of good information. I can't help but to notice as a parent when I drive my son in the morning that there are numerous driveways all around the perimeter of the school where kids congregate and they're smoking cigarettes, and I don't know what else. We go by a rock on the other end here, and my son is new to the school, and he's already commented on how that's known as the smoking rock. I'm just wondering if anybody is aware of all this taking place and if anything's being done to address it.
In terms of the driveways, we are aware of that. We have been working with the property owners. Unfortunately, sometimes it can be difficult in getting folks to police their property, but we are aware of it and working on that. As far as the smoking rock, that's the first time I've heard of that, but I will take care of the smoking rock tomorrow.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions or comments specifically to the presentation at this time?
I'm John Kingston. I'm a 30-year police officer. I was here on another issue, but I didn't expect to come to this type of a presentation. But I have to commend the committee for the film. It was very moving. I think it spoke directly to the issue at heart. I think it's going to, if it's put before a student group or any other group for that matter, it will make them think before they get involved in drugs or alcohol. Obviously, it's not going to stop everybody, but I think if, in the manner in which it was presented, which was non-judgmental, it will affect those students who care to listen to it. So my congratulations to you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else on the presentation topic? Laura?
I just wanted to acknowledge Raz Cunningham, who's sitting with us, and he was the young filmmaker, and he went out and interviewed the different people who were in there and really made people feel comfortable enough to open up. So I just wanted to give him some credit for this.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry I missed you. It was a great job. Thank you very much. It was a great job with the filming. Thank you very much. Anyone else on the presentation topic at this time? Okay, and as Dr. Thornton said, he'll continue to work with the groups to bring something back to the school committee, hopefully in early January, to move forward on. And again, in closing, I'd just like to thank all of you for all of your work and the presentation and the opportunity to work together with us and the community on this. And it's just one of many projects I hope that we can work together on as a committee and as a community as well. As I alluded to earlier, I had the pleasure of Robin came up to the ACI for a zero, and I think, Kathy, you've been there as well for the Zero Fatalities program that's presented by the Department of Corrections and the Attorney General's office targeting teenage drinking and driving. So we did let Robin leave at the end of the day, though we didn't keep her. So. But thank you very much. So at this time, I'll ask if there's any public comment pertaining to any other agenda items at this time or any other matters. Yes, sir.
I'd like to introduce myself to the members of the North Kingstown School Committee and Dr. Thornton. Good evening and happy Thanksgiving to you all. My name is John A. Kingston, Sr., and I am the president of the North Kingstown Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 33. I represent 140 active and associate members within our lodge, which was formed in 1976. Ours is a social organization founded on the principle of fostering better relations between law enforcement and the citizenry in which it serves. Almost from its inception, the lodge sought to assist students of the North Kingstown High School with a scholarship to aid in covering the high costs of a college education. As the years progressed, the awarding of the Robert Fitzpatrick Memorial Scholarship has amounted to tens of thousands of dollars. Although it is a consideration in the selection process, the scholarship is not limited only to those interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement. I mention this to you only for the fact that, despite the current state of the economy, of the dozens of applications left at the guidance office, none were returned, and thus no award was given last year. Had we only had one applicant, that person would have walked away with $1,000. Our membership was amazed and disappointed at this result. Despite this situation, our lodge is optimistic for this year. Even now, our membership is holding a raffle to refund the scholarship account. We are aware of the new administration in place within the district and at the high school. Instead of bringing you the problem, I have a suggestion. I would be willing to come to the high school to personally hand out our scholarship applications and answer any questions prospective applicants may have. Further, I might suggest that other organizations might be willing to do the same in a sort of a scholarship fair. If there is still a career day here, and I'm not sure that there is because there used to be, going on at the school, as there was some years back, it could be held in conjunction with that event. I am willing to meet with any of the administrators, staff, or students to further the awarding of our scholarship. Our lodge and I are at your service. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
For you, Kingston.
I just, quick comment. First, I thank you for all the work that you and your organization do, and it is concerning and disappointing that nobody applied for a scholarship, especially given this economic state. And I know committee member Mr. Richard Welch had brought this specific issue to the committee's attention and to the administration's attention several months ago. And I know that Dr. Thornton had mentioned he would work with the guidance staff and the administration at the high school to make sure we facilitate better communication moving forward on that. I don't know if you wanted to say.
Actually, Dr. Kenworth is here in the audience this evening, so before you leave, if you could please connect with Dr. Kenworth. Dr. Kenworth, if you wave. If you could connect, that'd be great to start the ball.
Thank you for your work, and thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come out tonight. We appreciate it, and hopefully there will be a line of applicants this year. If not, I'll fill out one myself.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Welch.
If I might just add that the body at large, when this was brought up, I can't tell you how disappointed the folks were because they have made over the years a real concerted effort to build up a fund so that they have a continuing amount of monies in which to give scholarships from. They were really hurt. I don't know any other way to say it. These are both former policemen, actives, and taxpayers. They were really hurt that they couldn't give their money away and wanted to know why. So I suggested that John come forward. And John, I would ask you if you would leave that letter with the school committee clerk so that it can go into the record. These folks have worked hard over the years to do this, and this is community. Not unlike what these folks did. This is community, and they want to do whatever they can for the community. And all too often we look upon folks like the firemen and the policemen as just being employees of the town, but they take their own time to do this stuff, and it hurt them to the quick. We need to do something that changes this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Okay, anyone else for citizens' comments at this time before we move on? Okay, thank you. Moving on to routine items, correspondence. Do any committee members have correspondence to submit at this time? Mrs. Brunel?
Yes, we have a couple of things to do here. Let's see. First of all, I'd like to congratulate our North Kingstown sailing team, and Kathy Brown will be sending in the email so it can be put into the minutes. But our sailing team went to New Orleans, as we all know. We talked about it before. And out of 33 teams, they placed fifth. Yep, fifth. And at the Great Oaks Regatta in New Orleans. Last year when they attended, they placed 8th. So our team is constantly improving and really needs to be recognized in a special way because there's a very competitive group that went that year. I also like to congratulate the cross-country team. They qualified to go to New England. They went to Thetford Academy in Vermont. There are 30 schools present in that competition from all over New England, and they came in 9th. And Zach Seitzinger out of, like, when they race, there's like 250 kids taking off at once. It's crazy to see that many people running that fast. And he came in 16th. It was really, really a great presentation. Actually, in Rhode Island, there were many great runners that year. But our NK team is now leaving this Friday for New York, where they're going to be in the Nike Invitational, and they're going on to regionals. Congratulations to the cross-country team and the sailing team.
If I could just interrupt for 1 second. The runner you were talking about, you mispronounced his name, just to interrupt. His name is Zach Seitzbrumley. He's a friend of mine,
Thanks.
just for future reference.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else for correspondence this evening? Once and twice, Mrs. Benson.
Not correspondence, but it would come under the head because we received a lot of information that I attended a conference, and not that I failed the first course, but with the new finance reporting and everything that the new school committees have to go under, I attended that conference, and it was very well attended, and I was proud to see that our attorney and her law firm were the key movers behind it, and they did a very good job. And Mary Ann, I see how you practice on us sometimes.
Thank you.
And it was very well attended, and a lot of information for the future use of the schools. And back to the sports, I must say that our local newspapers do an excellent job, and that's the first thing that I reach for when I get the Standard and the Independent, is the sports section. And North Kingstown is really participating in a lot of sports, because sometimes we as members wonder, well, why you have all these sports? But they are all in competition, and they are all represented in all of the sports. And it's 3 or 4 of them going on at the same time. 3 or 4 of them going on at the same time. But we just have to do it. And kids in sports, they're not busy in anything else. So thank you, Mrs. Brunel, for bringing up those sports activities.
Thank you, Mrs. Benson. Anyone else for correspondence? I don't have correspondence, and I don't want to set us any further behind schedule than we already are this evening, and I apologize that we're behind schedule, but I just would be remiss if I didn't make a quick note. As many of you know, Monday, December 6th, is our special biannual school committee meeting. At that time is when by town charter, is when the newly elected local officials will be sworn in and take their oath to office, and we will formally recognize the outgoing elected officials for their service to the committee and the community. So we will formally do it at that time, but very quickly this evening, because I don't know how much of an opportunity there'll be to speak on the 6th. I just want to recognize our 2 school committee members who will be outgoing. Tonight is their last meeting, and as I said, December 6th will just be a recognition, a formal recognition of their services to the district and the community. So Mr. Douglas Roth, who is unfortunately unable to join us this evening, and Mrs. April Brunel, who is with us this evening. So I just want to publicly and formally thank them both for their services to the school district, to the community, especially April and I have become very good friends over the past 5 years or so, and we've worked on a lot of things together, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with her, and someone who is truly has the best interest of the district and the students and education and taxpayers at heart. So she's been very inspirational and guiding for me, and a lot of the things that difficult challenges and discussions and decisions that have had to be made. I don't think I could have got through a lot of it without her. So, but I'd like to publicly recognize her. I've told her a lot of this stuff privately, but I'd like to publicly recognize her and thank her this evening. I would say the 4 years went by quick, but that would be a lie because it really didn't go by quick. So, but thank you, April, and hopefully we'll have more of a chance to talk on the 6th. So, and thank you to Doug Brock as well. Moving on, disclosure of executive session votes. Do we have any outstanding executive session votes to disclose at this time?
Yes. A motion was made to go into executive session. That vote was 4-0 with Mrs. Avezzato, Mr. Welch, Mr. Cerisi, and Mrs. Page voting to go in executive session. And after a short hearing, or a lengthy hearing, there was a motion to recess and reconvene at the conclusion of this meeting to go back into executive session. That vote was 6-0 with Mr. Roth being absent.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. Moving on to consent agenda items, couple of quick updates. Item F5 should read approval of retirement. Not approval of resignation, it should read approval of retirement. And F6, there's a typo on the name. It should read Donna Hudson, H-U-T-S-O-N. H-U-T-S-O-N. And I believe that's it. I believe those are the only corrections to the consent agenda. So at this time, I'll ask if there are any exemptions to the consent agenda at this time. Okay, hearing...
Unbelievable.
For your last meeting, no exemptions.
Thank you very much.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0 on the consent agenda passage. Moving on to unfinished business, our standing agenda item of the 10-11 school budget. Dr. Thornton, any discussion or action at this time for the committee?
Just one piece for this evening. I keep updating you on the Edu Fund money. That's the new wave of federal money that's supposed to come to us to help offset the hard times we're in. Our number is $486,804. The problem is, we keep getting advisories that if we were to spend it now this fall, it could be scooped out from us this spring with a cut from the state level. The state possibly could supplant us. So we're waiting right now. We're not spending. We can certainly still spend it in February if we, still have the money, but we're not really of a mind to spend it and create more process, if you will, than have a cutout. So we have that money as a placeholder that's supposed to be coming our way. So that's the only budget piece at this point.
Thank you. So no action required or in holding padding at this time. Okay. Thank you. Next agenda item is our standing agenda item, the CIP existing bond and future bond. I believe we covered that at our last two meetings. This, again, is a standing agenda item. If there's any action required or any...
Just D speaks to that this evening. Item D really is that conversation tonight.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to grading policy, grading practices, I'll defer to Dr. Thornton. I don't know if there's a recommendation for the committee at this time.
Fast update from Dr. Roget.
The grading policy committee has been meeting. In fact, our last meeting was just last night, and we made a lot of headway, particularly around consistency in weighting of grades in the middle and high school. And so we anticipate that I would say late January, early February or so, we'll probably have a policy ready to go. I would like to make one more pitch to the community on December 6th. It's a Monday night at 7 p.m. Ken O'Connor, who is internationally recognized expert, I guess is the right word, on grading practices in schools, is going to be speaking in North Kingstown. We're very fortunate to have him. And I'm hoping that we fill the room at the Quonset O Club to see him. And North Kingstown residents and employees of the school district are free of charge at this event. I guarantee you, it may not sound like it's something that will be all that entertaining, but I guarantee it'll certainly make you think, and it will be very interesting discussion. So I hope you can come, and if you need a ticket, you can contact my office. My secretary's name is Candy Lodge, and we can set you right up. Thanks.
And I understand that at the conclusion of the presentation, you'll be funding an open bar for all?
If you're willing to put the money forth for that, we can go that route.
Bring the task force back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let the task force just...
Yeah. And again, that's at the Quonset Oak Club, correct? The
Yes.
presentation. Yes. Thank you. Moving on, the change order for the wind study, Dr. Thornton.
Yes, in your packet, you have an agenda item. It goes back to a meeting I had at RIDE with myself, Mr. Welch, Mr. Draper, and from RIDE, Mr. De Silva and Ms. Brown. Our question was very simple. Could we find a way to have RIDE look favorably on the district having a windmill site, not at the high school, but in fact at the dump site? The answer was a yes, we would have a chance to do that. Part of the job now is to have SMMA, our company working with us, do a change order to spec out, can we do what we want to do? Our proposal from RIDE is, if we were to parcel out or subdivide the land at the dump, not have the actual dump site, but the woods near the dump, separate for the school district, put a windmill there, and also have enough space for a playing field or some kind of playing aspect. We are short fields right now. Currently, kids, as you might know, have to run to Wilson Park. It's kind of a dangerous situation. So we would propose a playing field on that location. We also propose a trail, a nature trail that would connect from the high school across the road over there and go right into the wood line. A trail, if you will, on like a deck or like a walkway. And RIDE said if we did that, a walkway, a trail, some educational component, a playing field, yes, it's approvable for up to 40% reimbursement from the state. So SMMA's task is to spec out, can we do all of these things, will it work? So their change order is here in your packet. It's funded out of the CIP. They would work on this from now until end of January to tell us, can we do this? Mr. Wilson, do you want to add anything? That's kind of...
Yeah, I would just say that the high school site itself does not work because of a couple of issues, one being flicker, but the other one is also the noise level. It would exceed the noise level within the boundaries to the nearest residence. So I think the thing that we should keep in mind is that the only way that the state will participate in it is if we do, as Dr. Thornton just said, and this will contribute based on what they did at Portsmouth High School. Over $500,000 a year in money back to pay utility bills. That would leave us with about a pay down based on money back of about 6 years, which is phenomenal for that kind of investment. And the more utility rates increase, the faster the payback will be. So, you know, this is an important investment in the community. Plus, it's also a learning tool. It's not just a producer of electric for us. It's also something that the students have the ability to see, work with on to some extent.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. We can certainly have further discussion on this, and I know there's some questions and comments. But at this time, what I'd ask for is there a motion to be made to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the change order to the facilities master plan as outlined?
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
A motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion, Mrs. Avezzano?
I just wanted to make a brief comment about SMMA and the job that they did when they put the information in front of us and that package together about the windmill. It was complete in every way. No stone was left unturned. We were informed about the potential problems, and they addressed each one, like the flicker, the ice, and the fall zone. All of that was taken into account and actually diagrammed for us, which I think was really important in being able to support it. I just think they did a great job. So facilities management, again, chose that vendor to produce that, and they did just a fabulous job. So I just wanted to mention that the school committee had all the information that we needed. There was nothing we were wondering about.
Thank you. Yeah, on all these projects, I think it's been a lot of good collaboration between different groups and making sure that all the information we need available to us in order to make an informed decision has been made available, so thank you. Mrs. Page?
Yeah, I see this as a win-win situation. I know that currently we don't really have any space in the high school, but if we want to do any intramural activities, and that all our playing fields are being used. So this would give us an opportunity to have some more space that if we had groups other than just some of our athletic teams who wanted to use fields, that they would be able to do that. And also it'd be a very nice place for, if the cross-country team wanted another running space, that would be on school property. My one question would be about the CIP. I don't remember what we have in the CIP, that if we take $22,000 away from it, just how much does that reduce? Is that, I would think that that's not a significant amount, but I was just wondering approximately what the number was.
Right now, at present, we have just under $200,000 available in the capital program, so it would come out of those funds. It'd just be an extension of the existing Phase 2 study.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. Any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, at this time, I'll ask for, we've already had a motion and it's been seconded, so I'll call a question at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Moving.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr.
It's kind of an adjunct to it. We've kind of flew through CIP and future bond. There was some information that was left at the table for us tonight regarding a recommendation from facilities management to pick an ESCO. We're running out of time, and this is going to come up very shortly for a vote. We need to have information in accordance with RIDE's requirements by the 1st of February. It's very important that we get this ESCO signed up for the purposes of doing an industrial-grade audit to see whether or not we can remove certain items from the bond request so that they can be done through an ESCO. We need this to come to a vote very soon so that they have time to complete their work prior to our final submissions to RIDE the 1st of February. If anybody has any questions about this, please talk to me because we cannot delay this. Time is of the essence here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Moving on to 4D, IQM2. I'll defer to Dr. Thornton at this time, and you should have information available in your package on this agenda item as well.
Sure. Sometime back, we brought to you the possibility of going to IQM2, a different system, if you will, to record our meetings. I know several members of the committee actually saw a demo of IQM2 maybe 6 months ago. I think Mr. Wells, Mrs. Page, Mr. Avanzano possibly. It's back in front of you again for consideration, and here are essentially the other highlights for you. Currently, we have a system, the Granca system, that allows us to stream our meetings. However, we don't have administrative oversight. That means we cannot edit, we cannot do the fine-tuning of that. The town owns a license. It's been a long-standing problem. This new system would be a school-owned system. Additionally, as you may have heard from past meetings, we're looking to go green, if you will, for the school committee, and we have, in fact, ordered the non-3G wireless devices to no longer print these agendas. Just so you know, everything that we have, we're spending about $900, I believe, between labor and printing for these meetings. So that would go away. You'll be getting one of these if all goes to plan. The IQM2 system, basically, picture you're getting one email with an agenda. It's hyperlinked. This system allows you to touch it and it opens up. So you'll see homeschooling request, hit on it, and there it is, homeschooling. This would all go away. So the IQM2 system gives us that ability. It also, something I like about it, it gives us a chance to archive things for multiple years. more than Granicus, and we have more minutes per month to do things like film a play, film the Thanksgiving football game and broadcast that. We can do all those things now with IQM2. We have 120, Mr. Booth, how many minutes per month do we get? So basically, we have a lot more time to film all the things we want to film and put them on our website. So in terms of functionality, administrative oversight, and the high-tech aspect in terms of what we do with the agendas, we're recommending again to you IQM2 to transition from Granicus.
Okay. Questions, Mrs. Bruno?
Not a question, but a comment. And I am also hearing that from comm classes at the high school that this would be very beneficial to our students to be able to access, multiple recordings and accomplish a lot more. And so educationally, it's a good piece.
Just to clarify, when we talk about these iPads, you've all seen them. They're different flavors. The ones we're looking at getting are the non-3G. What that means is, in here, we grab the wireless signal off that router over there. You go to a coffee shop, it'll pick it up. You're not going to be paying a monthly bill for 3G like a cell phone. This is a less expensive version of the iPad. The 3G is a monthly bill. We're not doing that. We figure wherever you're going to be, you'll have a wireless connection, as in this building or any other place we're going to be for meetings, we'll have a wireless connection for you.
Thank you. Mrs. Page?
Well, I did see the IQM2 about 6 months ago, and I was very impressed with it, and I really liked what I saw. I know that we're in Granicus with the town, and this has been more of like a sandpaper relationship as we rub against each other. So I guess my question would be, have we rubbed each other more to talk about getting out of this relationship?
I think the genesis had been talking about going green and knowing what IQM2 can do with that and how really functional that would be. That kind of brought us back to the forefront again. The whole green aspect really brought it up.
Does the town feel as if we have entered in any sort of a contract or commitment with them that we would be able to get out of this?
We have we pay $1,000 approximately a month for our one license to the town. They in turn pay a fee to Granicus. But we have one license for the $1,000. What I'm telling you is we can get a lot more functionality for the same price with IQM2.
I guess my question is more of have we been in discussions with them to say we are probably moving away?
I would do that after you would have a affirmative vote, then I would let them know, but I've not.
I think that's what my concern is, that I would like to take the vote. I would like to vote on this, but I would like to have them know ahead of time before I cut the cord and say, tough luck, we're out.
Right.
That I'd just like to let them know that this is something.
I guess to me, it was chicken or the egg. Do you vote first, or do I tell them first? I figured if you voted the affirmative, then I would let them know that's what you're looking to do. But I can take it however you want to do that. I can go slower if you want to go slower.
I don't know. I'm voicing just my concern.
I think we can certainly take a vote and let the superintendent relay the action to the committee, and if there's any questions or concerns are raised, we can certainly revisit it. Mrs. Avezzano? I'm sorry, Mr. Welch had his hand up, and I skipped over. Mr. Welch?
First of all, I'd like to say that the town manager has, in more than one occasion, quoted that he had no problem with the school committee dropping out, as he could use it elsewhere for town meetings. So it wasn't a concern of his. Second thing I would say to you is that the cost to operate this system would save money for the school department. It's less expensive than our commitment to the town, and we get a better service. The third thing I would say to you is that I went online today to look at the town council meeting last night and found that the video portion of their meeting was intermittent at best, okay? Normally, all you got was the color thing with no video. You had the audio. And the last thing I would tell you is that on last night's agenda, I think the last item that the town council had was to do just what Dr. Thornton did on the iPads. The town, as agreed last night, to go to iPads as well. They figure that their annual savings is $18,000 a year. Ours has got to be higher than that. You know, we do a lot more paper and stuff, so I hope that helps to answer some of the questions.
It does, thank you.
Mrs. Avisano?
This is probably adding on, but I agree, it would be good to let the town council know what direction we're going in, but it sounds like they already do, because we've already, Mr. Welch has already been in the consolidation meetings where it's been mentioned by the town manager.
Thank you. Mrs. Benson?
My question's to Mr. Welch. Mr. Welch, has this been brought up at the consolidation meetings?
We had discussions about this a while ago. Don't quote me, somewhere within the last 9 to 12 months, and when we talked about the problems we were having with Granicus, and when we decided that we were going to continue with Granicus, if you remember right, it was to be on a very short fuse, that we were going to see how it all came together. We made no promises that we were going to stay in the program, and we actually overstayed that for one reason or another. We should have been out of that 6-8 months ago. But, you know, we went along and, you know, we played good, and, you know, the thing is, it's costing us money, you know, and if they want to come along and be on IQM2, they'll save money.
Well, may I comment on you? May I comment, Mr. Chair? You use a lot of terms like they're costing us money and this, that, and the other, but before we vote on this, both of us, the council and the school committee, I think we should sit down together, because we all of this, the school committee and the town, we all belong to the town, and this is not the first time you've heard me say this. We are not a separate entity, because I'm going to repeat it again. When you go to pay that tax in that window, there's not a separate place for school committee tax. It's divided out, and a separate place to pay town tax. We're all in this together, and let's give it one more try as trying to work together as a town. I know that the town council took it up last night, but if they didn't think about us, let's show that we're interested in being a town and think about them. So I don't think we should cast a vote tonight. We're planning on a bond issue and a lot of other things, so I'm going to keep my wisdom to myself, but I don't think we should cast the vote tonight to do something. Let's study it and throw out the hand, and if we're refused, then we go, like Lowe's truck in the Indy 500 or the Daytona races. We will have done what we are supposed to do.
Thank you, Mrs. Benson. Dr. Thornton?
Just one last piece for your thinking. To put it in concrete terms for you, if we stay with the Granicus system and load these machines and go forward, we are not authorized to call the Granicus company nor have admin oversight over Granicus. If anything's wrong, we can't fix it. That's the challenge we face right now.
Well, now, how did we get to that challenge? Did the town refuse us to?
Correct.
What, we got information from the town that we could not call the company?
Correct.
Well, why not us work on that?
That's a 2-year-old conversation, Mrs. Benson.
Well, 2-year-old is growing up, and cash is growing slow.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Mrs. Page?
Well, I agree, Mrs. Benson, about moving slow, except for the fact that we have extended our time with Granicus, in that about 6 or 8 months ago, we all said, let's stick with it for a little while longer, and we were going to be exploring more options. And at that time, we did start in our discussion with the towns to say to them, we're not happy with Granicus. We're having some issues that they weren't helping us with in terms of getting back to things. So I think I feel more confident in taking my vote for this because of what Mr. Welch has said in the discussions with the town manager, that I think the town has been on notice enough that we've not been happy with the service. And this is a significantly lower price service. The presentation that I saw a number of months ago was 100 times better than what we've gotten, because I've had a number of conversations with people who are not able to bring the video up to be able to see it, to be able to hear it, the number of problems that they've had, that this system, it's so tied in that I think it will give us real value. And the fact is it's significantly cheaper, that we have let the town know through the time that we've had here that it won't be a surprise. And since I feel confident from what Mr. Welch has said, that the town has been on notice, that this won't be something that we're poking them in the eye, but yet at the same time they're acknowledging that there have been some issues and that we could move on.
Thank you, Mrs. Page, for bringing it out like that. And I guess it was some communications that I didn't get from the school department or the committee. And after your speech, I see it very clearly. But just to say, a 2-year conversation and to rush through something, anyone can be changed when it is fairly and intelligently presented to them. So thank you for that information, and I'll be able to cast my vote.
Thank you. Glad we've all come to some type of consensus.
Yes.
Not having been a part of this committee or any of its proceedings for a while, I obviously can't say much about the problems you've had with the current system, but a couple of the things I've heard people say is about executive oversight, and I know as a student, a lot of the students that I know that watch or try to watch the committee meetings like it because it's full disclosure and it's not oversight and it's not edited. It's what actually happened at the meetings. So I would just like to say that as a student, I would like it if there were less oversight if you were to move to a new system and allowed more full disclosure so that students know exactly what's going on.
Thank you. Okay, we had a motion by Mr. Welch to approve, seconded by Mrs. Advisano. We've had discussion.
Just one quick response to Brent's point. This is also streaming live. It's this new.
So it wouldn't have oversight.
You'd also have the direct live streaming, and it also offers live streaming of sports events, maybe on the homecoming, Thanksgiving Day, and other events like proms and things like that. So.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mrs. Benson?
Don't you think we should have a roll call vote on an item that important?
Sure. Moving on to the new business for discussion only, student information system update. Dr. Thornton?
Sure. Just an update once again. Our current student information system is called SchoolMax. That's the system we use to put people's addresses in, phone numbers, all those things we do for our kids in all of our schools. For the past 10 years, the state's talked about having one system for a long time. Maybe 6 years ago, they said, we're all going to go to SchoolMax. Everyone, let's go. Half the state went, half the state didn't go. Then we moved on from SchoolMax. A couple of years ago, the state again said, we're really going to go this time. Let's go. And the vendor, they had a big intergalactic search for the best vendor. The one that won was called Aspen. It's quite a good program, to be honest. Very functional, much better than the current program we have. The problem was, last year at the State House, RIDE asked for $6 million we put aside to roll the whole state over to one system. It costs around $50,000 to roll us over to a new system. Last year, it was a tough budget, the money got pulled out. This past summer, Aspen, the company, knows a lot of districts are itching to drop SchoolMax because of a lot of problems. One problem we had this year, the day before school opened, the system crashed. We couldn't print student schedules at the high school. So Aspen has been dangling a carrot saying, school districts, if you go now, we will waive some of the fee to roll over. So we're talking to Aspen, Jamestown's talking to Aspen, Almexa West Greenwich, other districts. RIDE again is telling us we're going to once again introduce a request for $6 million to the State House this January to roll the whole state over again. But we're not sure they're going to do it because it's a tough budget. We're telling them we have to know pretty soon what to do. Do we keep SchoolMax, which we're not happy with, or do we go with Aspen But if we go with Aspen too early, we're paying our own start-up cost when RIDE might pay for it 2 months from now. So our current plan is the following. We saw Aspen again at a demo last week. We liked it once again. We talked with a vendor about, we can wait to decide till around January. Then she said she could possibly bill us differently and put the bill out to June, so if the State House did pay the bill, we could give it to the State House to have us roll over. So in short, we're pretty convinced Aspen's the way to go. As a side note, Jamestown wants to maybe go, and it would really be helpful to them if they could piggyback with us. To give you a sense of how it works, we cost around $12 per student for this new Aspen system. Jamestown, because they're smaller, would cost $24 per student. If they join with us, we can get, or they get our price, if you will. So we're looking to work with people to make a big rollover. So the bottom line would be, we'll talk about it again in January. We're probably going to recommend to you to do it, and would have to roll us over, end of the school year in June. So the question is, will the state pay the fee to roll us over? And will the state go to one program?
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. So it's informational purposes only at this time, and as more information becomes available, you'll update the committee. Thank you. Mr. Welch?
Dr. Thornton, any chance of maybe grabbing a few other districts like Narragansett, South Kingstown, Exeter, West Greenwich?
Yeah, Exeter West Greenwich is interested. South Kingstown is not, it's really spotty. Westerly might be. Warwick is looking to go, and that's a big coup because Warwick's a big district and they had a homegrown system, so it really depends. And we're really looking for a RIDE to tell us we're all going to go together, let's pool our resources and go, but they're apprehensive to say go because they just don't know. But they're telling us if you have to go, go now. If you don't have to go, wait. That's our guidance from RIDE at this point.
Thank you. Mrs. Benson?
Dr. Thornton, the guidance from RIDE, how do you weigh that? Because eventually everything's going to come under RIDE.
I think they're truly committed to get one system. They really want it to happen, but they have competing interests and the money's finite. So I'm not sure at the end of the day, it'll stand up to all the different things that are going to come in the budget this year. This is the worst budget year as we are forecasting. I'm not sure one SR system, as good as it sounds, will merit at the end of the day at the State House.
So we're going to jump in it, and the way the budget is, and we can look around us and everything, so we're going to jump in it now and go, and yet we won't be able to get our money back from RIDE, or we are not. I don't know about that.
To hedge our bet, if we went in January, bring it to you to say, let's consider going, I would have Aspen bill us out into June for the conversion. So if the state did pay our way, I'd wait to the last possible second to get the state money. If it doesn't come, then yes, we have to pay the bill to convert. We would. At the end of the day.
Why can't we wait when RIDE is our governing agent? Why can't we as a school committee wait and see how, it's just like the neck taking the place of the head.
We could wait.
You can't have a head without a neck.
We could stay with SchoolMax for the next 2 or 3 years. I would tell you,
How long you said that they were waiting on something? Don't make it seem so.
RINET has stopped supporting SchoolMax. That was the company locally that supported SchoolMax. They stopped doing it. We're on our own now. The functionality problems we had this year with SchoolMax, I've really lost all confidence in the program. The Aspen program, just as IQM2 is much more robust than the one we have, this system is really a nice system. We sat with it again with our folks who do data entry, our folks that do scheduling, much more robust program, much better. It does think, here's one example of what it does. Picture you have 3 kids in 3 different schools in North Kingstown, and you have one address you put in. This system will talk to all 3 schools and tell them Johnny has moved. The current system, we have to manually enter 3 times in 3 locations. There are multiple examples like that, why this is a better system.
Thank you. Mrs. Page?
Dr. Thornton, what do the SchoolMax encompass in terms of what we do with it? I realize that
State reporting, student addresses, student information. It's lacking things like assessments for kids. We don't have that. This new system has that. Demographics right now for SchoolMax essentially.
So when you say assessment, you mean, does it work in conjunction with iParent, or?
SchoolMax is part of the iParent suite. This new program has that also. This new program has many more pieces to it as well. For example, we always talk about assessments. How are kids doing on tests and quizzes, and where are we? How we track their progress. Current system, we have no capability to do that. New system has an assessment tab you push. All the kids' assessments are there. Local assessments, common assessments, state assessments, all right there for one page for you to see.
Oh, so does this also encompass our email system too?
So email is separate. For email, we're looking actually to go up, I was talking to Mr. Booth this week, to 2010. Different flavors of Exchange, Microsoft, 2007, 2010. We're looking now to go to 2010. That's a different conversation.
Okay. And that would be also, then SchoolMax is different than from some of our other data systems that we have, like for the substitute teachers, and that's all different.
Here's the good news. With this system, some systems can go away. We have a thing now called School Dude. You may have heard of it. If something breaks, you put an order into School Dude, I need this window fixed in this building. Boom. This system takes care of that. School Dude's no longer bought anymore by the district. It also takes place of a few more systems. Mr. Booth, help me. ASOP, a system we call them for subs, that would go away. We're hoping very soon, they said, we would get rid of Connect Ed. Remember the Connect Ed problem we had with the multiple phone calls?
Right.
Connect Ed would go away. This would do that also. So for one system, we get a lot more functionality. It's just a better system. It's kind of like these things over time get better every couple of years. This is the next evolution of these systems. This one's kind of a real, just a basic student admission system. This new one is really more robust.
Thank you. Okay, next new business item for discussion only is Facilities Subcommittee recommendation on NKHS air conditioning system. Mr. Welch?
Yes, over the years, we've been led to understand that the high school, this high school, built 10 years ago, was built with the idea in mind that at some future date, by adding a chiller unit, the school could have air conditioning. Well, somewhere along the line, something didn't happen. We did a physical inspection during our last meeting, and it was not plumbed correctly to take the condensate away from the through-the-wall units. It was not insulated correctly so that the chilling lines going to the through-the-wall units would not sweat. You're talking about a major, major problem to go through the entire building to accomplish those two things. So while the units themselves have the capacity to do it, the plumbing connections are not there. So I think you need to discount that that's ever going to happen, because you're going to rip the building apart in order to accomplish it. The second part of the situation is that in reviewing the third floor and looking up into the attic space, et cetera, they are making a recommendation that we consider hiring a mechanical engineer to evaluate the ventilation system and how it could be changed in order to cause air to circulate through the building and cool the building down. And this can be done probably most effectively at night to get the building down to a lower temperature so that during the day the temperature is rising, but they're also still ventilating the building. And if you're taking it from the lower floors to the upper floors, the lower floors are always going to be cooler, and you're pushing this air out through. So we spent a lot of time looking at this, and it was their considered opinion that that's the direction that we should go, especially in light of the situation that while we all understand that there are warm days either at the beginning or end of the school year, they probably don't amount to more than 3 to 5 days that is really critical. And this is probably the least expensive, most efficient way to do it at this point in time.
Mrs. Avezzano?
I read the report of the Facilities Subcommittee, and we had mentioned individual units potentially for the third floor, but it seems to me with the core temperature of the building being that high, you're not going to even be able to cool those rooms with an individual unit unless you do something like what the Facilities committee is suggesting. Now, that's not air conditioning, that would just allow proper ventilation at the top floors, the way I understand it, so.
And that's going to take an engineer to understand all that and tell us what we need to do. You know, we have a couple of people on the committee, the chairman and Jim Grundy and Mark Plimpton, both who have an awful lot of experience in air conditioning and heating. And it's their considered opinion, and I agree with them. And I think, Ned, you were there. I think we're all agreed that this is the best first step to try and help that situation out.
I think as you've mentioned, the first thing that needs to be addressed is the ventilation there, regardless of what the future is for air conditioning or not. Having been on the third floor of the high school on some hot days, it's clear something's wrong with the ventilation system there, or there is no ventilation. I mean, the air is as thick you can cut it with a knife. The air just simply doesn't move on that third floor. So regardless of the air conditioning, I think the ventilation is the first step. So I guess my question would be, is to proceed from here, we would have an agenda item to recommend going out for bid for a mechanical engineer to do a study. Is that? Okay, we can certainly get that on an upcoming agenda, hopefully. Moving into reports, do we have any standing subcommittee or ad hoc committee reports at this time? The only special report in our folder at this time is the monthly student enrollment report, which we receive. Aside from that, there are no other special reports, so I'll ask if there are any reports from school committee members on standing subcommittees or ad hoc committees. Okay. At this time, I need a motion to recess back into executive session. As
So
we
moved.
continue.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll hop back into executive session here.
Okay, what?
Those are your emails.
Thank you.